going on? It's Quinn David Furness. Welcome to my show, Quinn David Furness Presents, the Beantown Podcast for Sunday, May 3rd. It's gonna be May 2020. What's happening? Quarantine edition. Week, 7 or 8, something like that, at quarantine. It's a fun word to say. There are a lot of Q words in general, and I'm biased here, but a lot of Q words in general are fun to say. I'm thinking quarantine, quarry, quandary. There are a number of additional words. Quandary. Quandary. Almost a palindrome. But, hey, what's happening? We're coming to you live from the north side of Chicago. It's a great day, man. These last 2 days, pristine. And I can be somewhat temperamental when it comes to temperature. You know, when it's a little chilly out and you get that lake breeze, that freezing lake breeze going, it can be kind of miserable. But then the instant, we get up to like 75 and muggy and I start to sweat my buns off and my house doesn't have air conditioning, then I can get really grouchy. But I tell you what, when we get days like today where it's sitting at about 67, 68, partly sunny, the wind's not too bad, you can go out, you wear shorts and a light windbreaker jacket of sorts. You don't got to worry about sunburn because you're not getting a lot of direct sunlight, but it's still pleasant out. No precipitation of any kind. Man, that's the tops right there. I went out to Warren Park in West Ridge, which is about a mile and a half walk from my apartment, mile and a half. And but it's a nice space out there, man. I tell you what, there's a golf course. It's a huge, almost takes up the entire like half mile long city block. We're talking Pratt to the north, like Damon to the east, Western to the west, and Devon to the south. The eastern portion is a golf course, and I don't play golf, so I don't know too much about it. But the western portion is Warren Park, and it's got baseball diamonds, it's got tennis courts, it's got horseshoe courts, whatever they're called, and it's got shuffleboard courts, and it's got a hockey rink, right? I didn't even know that. I walk past there every Friday typically, and I didn't even realize I've seen it before, but I didn't realize it was a hockey rink. I thought it was some sort of solar panel something, but it's a outdoor hockey rink, which hockey's not that popular of a thing in Chicago. It's so weird. That's something that always kind of baffled me growing up, how Illinois, at least my perception of it, maybe you feel differently, but I always felt like Illinois, Midwest, known for being cold, but hockey is never a big thing here. Like you go up, just a couple miles north of here up to Wisconsin, and hockey is everything. You come down here and it's just, or you go to Michigan, Minnesota, but boy, here it just didn't really seem to catch on. I don't know. But it's also got nice space. It's even got this weird kind of like sledding hill kind of thing. It's pretty small, but there are people going up and like riding their bikes down. It's interesting. I went out there and took my book, read for about an hour, Crime and Punishment, Dostoevsky, which I got to tell you, I've been working on it for a while now, and I appreciate the book. I appreciate the story, but I'm just feeling like it's not quite living up to the lofty expectations that had been put in place for me regarding this novel. It's widely considered to be one of the greatest things of all time, right? Crime and Punishment is huge. It's like as big as it gets. Crime and Punishment, War and Peace. Those are the two big Russian ones. And I'm about halfway through. I'm in the middle of part 3 out of part 6. And I feel like we're not going to do any spoilers here, But there's a very significant event that happens literally in the first like 30 pages of the book that kind of sets the scene for the rest of the novel. And I am finding myself disappointed because, one, I felt like there needed to be a much bigger build-up to this event, right? But two, in kind of the aftermath here, it's just not that interesting to me, frankly. And I feel like it's set up to be really fascinating and a great like psychological thriller kind of thing. And who knows, maybe I just need to give it 100 more pages. But I tell you what, Crime and Punishment, everything I'd read about it, it had been set up to me to be like, if you like Breaking Bad, you're going to love Crime and Punishment. And it's been fine so far. But between all the Russian names that are frankly tough to keep track of, and just a lot of story that kind of feels like repetitive and like nothing's actually happening. I don't know. We're very lukewarm so far on Crime and Punishment. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. But got to read outside in the park for a little while, which is very nice. It's gonna cool down now this week, but it is what it is. We are streaming live, and you're only hearing the audio of this, but I have a fun update. You'll remember back to our end of the year podcast, 2019, live from Oregon. 5 months ago, and I mentioned that we didn't do a state of the podcast 2020. That was a 2019 thing, and I wasn't feeling creatively inspired to do it for 2020. But I kind of took the opportunity at my year-end podcast for year 2 to mention the two big kind of updates / projects for the podcast in year 3. One of them was the Scott Farrell audiobook, which I won't discuss at length because I feel like I talk about it every time, no matter what. Here's what you need to know: everything is finished from a content creation perspective. The only thing left to do is finish the uploading. The first 3 parts of the Scott Farrell audiobook are up, and if you want to listen, let me know, because it's unlisted. You can't just go searching on the internet and find it. I have, I think, one more part left to upload, and then my epilogue, which I created and then read. It's like 6 minutes long or something like that. It's nothing compared to these parts that are literally 4 to 5 hours long. So that's literally in the next 4 to 5 days, it'll probably be done. The only reason it takes this long, you might be thinking, Quinn, well, it's all finished. Like, you just press a couple of buttons and it's up. It takes about 11 to 12 hours to upload one part. And that's pretty significant. Like, that's a lot of time when you think about it. And it completely shuts down my computer for half a day. And we're not talking like half a day, like wake up at 7 a.m. and it's done at 1 p.m. Like, actually half a day, 12 hours is about what it takes. So it's a big commitment for me to say, all right, my computer is going to be doing this and nothing else for 12 hours. So that's why these things take so long, because I have to very carefully plan out and strategize how and when I'm going to upload. Thankfully, we're almost done with it. That was project number 1. Project number 2 was something that had stemmed out of a conversation that I had literally only days before I made that podcast, and that was with my friend Matt Fiedler, co-host of the White Noise podcast, which I always forget the name of it, which is embarrassing because it's partially my show. But Matt had agreed to sell me his camera, one of his cameras, and for a discounted price. I said, sure, let's do it. And the big promise to the fans was, you could still obviously just listen to the audio on your phone, on your podcast app, or Stitcher, or SoundCloud, whatever you want to do. Or, right now you go to my YouTube channel, you listen to a podcast, you're just getting the static picture of me with our year 3 photo, which is the pizza photo. But now we're about to go real high tech. We're about to get the camera setup going. And I'm going to have to kind of learn how to do some of the tech functionality. But I think it's going to be fun. We'll talk about it more as we get actually closer to being set up. I would hope that we launch it in 2 or 3 weeks. But it's going to be low budget. I know that surprises you probably. Quinn's going low budget. No. Yes. But there are going to be some fun things. I won't actually, I'm not even going to ruin the surprise of what I bought off of eBay like last week. And I'm still waiting for it to arrive. One of these days it'll come. But I think that'll be a prominent part of our video feed is this thing I bought on eBay, because I think you, the fans, are going to like it. Okay? And, of course, anyone who's on my 9:30 a.m. daily Zoom work meeting knows this. But the Jack Link's travel mug will also be a prominent player in these video streams. Jack Link's beef jerky, feed your wild side. Unofficial sponsor. So that's happening, right? We were hoping to launch it in like January. It's May now. It's gonna be May. And it's actually happening. The reason it's at the forefront of my mind, I talked to my friend Matt Fiedler this morning. He called me, which was very nice of him on a Sunday morning. And something I need to, I don't know, I have this weird, let me get real with you for a second. And then we'll get to what I actually am talking about today. We actually have a topic. It's very exciting. I know. You're like, what? Yes. Quinn has a topic. It's all carefully planned out. I took notes in my phone. Wow. You're probably saying, why is he shouting so much? Got a lot of pent-up energy. Jeez. You're probably thinking Quinn's going a little crazy over there. You may be right. I may be crazy. Hey, but it just may be a lunatic you're looking for. Turn out the lights. Don't try to save me. You may be wrong for all I know, but you may be right. Oh, remember how I found you there, alone in your electric chair. You told me dirty jokes until you smiled. You said, take me as I am, and you might enjoy the weekend for a while. Oh boy. We're doing it. You may be right. I may be crazy. Oh, but it just may be a lunatic you're looking for. Turn out the lights. Don't try to save me. You may be wrong for all I know, but you may be right. You may be right. Hey, I may be crazy. Oh, but it just may be a lunatic you're looking for. Turn out the lights. Don't try to save me. You may be wrong for all I know, but you may be right. May be wrong, but you may be right. You may be wrong, but you may be right. You may be wrong, but you may be right. You may be wrong, but you may be right. You may be wrong, but you may be right. Continuing with what I was saying previously, which was, I don't know. I was going to get to my topic, but I had something I wanted to say before that. Okay. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause, play it back, and we'll get to the bottom of this. Okay, I was gone for like 5 minutes. I figured it out. I was going to get real with you for a second, which seems strange after I just sang 2 minutes of Billy Joel, and got up, went to the other side of the room to grab my guitar. What I was going to say is that I have this weird, it's not a complex, but just like this weird consistent nagging feeling that like prevents me from wanting to just pick up the phone and calling people or FaceTiming them. Because I always feel like I'm bugging them, you know? I think it's because most of my friends are like have returned to their parents' houses. So I always feel like, oh, they're probably playing a game, or they're sitting down at the dinner table, or they're watching MASH together, or Chuck, now streaming on NBC.com. I assume. I don't know. But I need to do a better job of it. Okay. But while I have you, because, you know, typical fashion, you're 16 and a half minutes in to this podcast, you know, our 122nd episode or whatever, you're probably thinking, okay, he's got my attention, but do I want to finish out this whole episode? The first, 100 hours of this show were good, but I'm maybe starting to waver now that I have your attention. Kentucky Derby. Oh boy, the diehard fans know where this episode is going. Plus, I titled it this way, so you already knew where it was going. And in fact, you probably spent the first 17 minutes of the show wondering what the hell. We can bleep that out. FCC, don't worry. Because I forgot to mention, listener, it's very important for amateur podcasters out there who don't know, you have to give a listener discretion is advised tag, preferably at the beginning of your show, that says we'll occasionally use some language here and there. And I'm not talking Rosetta Stone computer software kind of language. I'm talking big boy words like hell, HE double hockey sticks. Number 2, this is less necessary, but I like to throw it on there just to kind of cover my butt. The show is objectively terrible. Okay? Just so we're all clear. I lost my train of thought again. Boy, this has been rough. Okay, no, we're back. I didn't even have to stop. Kentucky Derby was supposed to be yesterday, and if you didn't catch it, I didn't watch this live, but NBC showed a virtual Kentucky Derby. It was like a computer simulation that had all, I think, 14 maybe Triple Crown winners. Justify, American Pharoah, Seattle Slew, Episcopalian. No, that's not one. That's my Triple Crown winning horse that's going to win in 2034. When I kind of made that goal in 2018, it seemed very realistic, and now in 2020, all of a sudden, I'm thinking, I'm probably going to have to move out of the city to have enough space for my horse. But Secretariat won, as it should, because Secretariat is the most kick-ass horse of all time. But this got me thinking, you know what podcast Quinn does every year, now for its 3rd year running on Kentucky Derby weekend? I'll tell you, if you haven't listened to the first 2 installments, welcome to the 3rd annual Quinn David Furnace Presents the Beantown Podcast, presents the top 10 horse names of the year. Now, if you're new to our program, let me just give you a brief explanation of what this is. This is not a collection or summary of real horse names. These are horse names that I have created from within me, off the top of my head, that I think are just great names for future horses. And I'm not even copywriting this stuff, right? If Bob Baffett, whatever his name is, Robert, if you're listening, wants to come in here and take some tips, please be my guest. Just buy me a mint julep sometime. The reason I do this is because if you have ever watched a horse race before, you'll know this. Horse names are really weird. It's a fascinating culture's not even a good word for it, concept, I guess, where there are really no bad names other than like Todd or Jack. Jack's actually not a bad horse name. Susan's not really a horse name. But beyond that, beyond white people first names, you can really do anything you want, and it works, and it's fun. And you just go look at, the past list of Kentucky Derby winners, and you'll see just some things that are just like, what? Are you kidding me? I mean, last year there was one called Gronkowski that ran. My horse I was rooting for, I think it was last year, was Mendelssohn. I think that was what it was called. Something like that. I don't remember who won the Kentucky Derby last year. Was last year's Kentucky Derby the one with the disqualification, or is that 2 years ago? I don't remember. That was crazy. But what I do here is I come up with my own horse names, oftentimes things that I've kind of been collecting throughout the year and waiting to present to you until this episode. And then oftentimes they're names that I just did a little bit of writing, a little bit of research. This year was much more spontaneous. I came up with most of the names last night. But we actually have a really solid list. So what I'm going to do is remind you of my number one. So we do a top 10 list, but there's always a number one. And my overall number one horse name ever, all time, was my number one in 2018, our first year of the program, understandably. And I don't have anything this year that tops that. That's still number one. And 2019's number one was good too. But 2018, top of the top. Always been my favorite. And I've had that name lined up for double-digit years. What I'm going to do is give you the 2018, 2019 number ones. Then I'm going to just very briefly read my ads here. And then I've got a little treat for you to introduce our top 10 list. It's going to be fun, I think. I think you'll like it. And then I'll go through my top 10 list. I'll briefly, kind of take you through what I was thinking when I chose each name. But we'll try to move through it pretty quickly. It'll be a longer episode, as you probably already determined. But I think we'll have fun with it. So let's go back. 2018, number one. Again, it's my number one all-time horse name, and I don't have anything this year to top it, although I really like my list of 10 this year. It's a really solid list. Number one, 2018, 2 years ago, our first year of the program, Episcopalian. I'm a big fan of all things Western religion from a names perspective because there are just so many things to tap from. But this has been one that has just been like inside of me for as long as I can remember. Episcopalian, my all-time overall number one horse name. Last year's 2019 was also biblical. Pentateuch, which I think is, I could see some people thinking that's even better than Episcopalian. Pentateuch, meaning the first 5 books of the Old Testament. That's a kick-ass horse name. You might be wondering, hey, Quinn, is your number one horse name in 2020 also going to be a biblical reference? It's not. We're going to buck the trend. That being said, I do have a biblical reference in the top 10. So for all of those wasps out there listening to our show, Don't be afraid, okay? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Whatever. I don't know. You know how it goes. Let's read our ads here to thank our sponsors. And then I've got a treat for you. Pop-Up gets a treat. And then we're going to jump in, okay? Not a lot. We're cutting out the fat on this podcast. I know I just spent 2.5 minutes singing a Billy Joel song. Starting now, we're cutting out the fat, okay? Home Pride, Oregon. Are you tired of selling your house for less than a quarter of what it's worth, all because you couldn't find a reliable home inspector in time? And folks, we have all been there. Well, Oregon listeners, there's good news. Home Pride Inspection Services in Bend, Oregon is Central Oregon's hottest new home inspection provider, with inspection services including things like roofing, plumbing, heating, cooling, read out order, and so much more. Home Pride Oregon is both contractor certified and home inspection certified, so you know you're getting the good stuff. If you're tired of big real estate angle hold, okay, messed up my sinuses on that one. On the home inspection market, and you want a safe, certified home inspector that you can trust, you gotta call Steve at 541-410-0316, or you can visit homeprideoregon.com. Again, 541-410-0316, or just visit homeprideoregon.com. Home Pride Oregon Inspection Perfection. Okay, damaged my larynx on that one. Got a lot of energy. I tell you what, briefly before we return back to the ads, most people know I've been dieting like crazy this whole year since Jan 1. No alcohol. Haven't had a lick of pizza. I love using lick in that sense, meaning like a collection of. Haven't had a lick of pizza. But I've had a lot more sugar today than I usually do. So I think that's where some of these increased energy levels are from. And I tell you why I did that, because I was pretty low calorie all week. We're talking like 1,300 calories a day. And when I went for my walk on Friday, because I run Monday through Thursday and then again Saturday, so I go for a long walk Friday, long walk Sunday, I was like just dragging my feet, felt completely dead. And I was thinking like, man, it's probably the calories. And then I went for attempted to go for a long run yesterday. Like, this isn't a new thing for me, right? I ran a half marathon last weekend on very low energy, very low calories, and felt fantastic. So I go out yesterday, and some combination of the low calories and the heat just absolutely killed me. I make it like 4 miles straight north of my apartment up to Dempster in Evanston. That's where I decided to turn around, knowing it's going to be bad. Had to walk for like a quarter of a mile, half a mile maybe, I don't even remember, and just kind of dragged myself home on a very light jog, 7.5, 8 miles, something like that. But was just feeling awful. So giving myself, one, a lot of calories today, but two, and this might seem silly, but a lot of sugar as well, because I just feel like, man, if I was going to try to go into Monday feeling the way I did Friday and Saturday, it was going to be a hellish week. So splurging a little bit on the diet, really making the most out of this cheat day here, but I'm hoping it pays off for the rest of the week, because that Saturday run was really awful. And that was my first truly dud run under quarantine. And they're not fun when they happen, especially when you try to do on the long runs, right? If it's a Tuesday and you're running 4 miles and you have a dud run, it's like, whatever. It's over after 30 minutes. But when you have a bad run on your long ones, boy, that sucks, man. Let's finish off our ads here. Shout out to the Samson Q2U series. We were talking about biblical references earlier on this show, Pentateuch, Episcopalian. Well, we'll keep them coming, because from Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, the entire Pentateuch, all the way down to Revelation, when God speaks, he uses a Samson. Okay. Here I am. Sorry. I spaced out for a second. I forgot what the name of my barber company was called. I'm not even shitting you. It's because we haven't made a haircut in so long. Made a haircut. Who is he talking to? Quinn's going crazy. It's called Cuts by Q, in case you're wondering. And here's our ad read for it. Bob and weave. We all know the hairstyle. We all love it. But how many Chicago-based independent barbers can actually give it to you the way you deserve? Enter Cuts by Q. It's like Enter Sandman, but different. Cuts by Q has been independently owned and operated since 1995 and is probably one of the better barbershop operations serving Chicago, Cook County, and the greater Chicagoland area, including Northwest Indiana. From beehives to bangs, faux hawks to flat tops, and everything in between, you gotta call Cuts by Q at 815-298-7200, or you can email cutsbyq@yahoo.com. Again, that's Q-U-T-Z, by Q at yahoo.com. Oh, when you need a fresh do, something snappy and new, just call the experts at Cuts by Q. All right, I tell you what I'm going to do now. I'm going to pause for a second to kind of change my setup here because you have to change locations for this. And I'll be right back to get you going with our top 10 horse names of 2020, the list you've all been waiting for. Here it comes. All right, in the spirit of top 10 horse names for Kentucky Derby weekend, there's a little treat for you. All right. Welcome to the 2020 third annual Beantown Podcast Top 10 Horse Names Special. It's a fun one. It gives me a chance to be goofy, something I don't normally do on this show. And we're going to jump right in here. Again, I told you we're cutting out the fat on the Beantown Podcast. I've lost 50 pounds on the year. And as part of my weight loss pledge, I said, let's not only cut out the fat on the host, let's cut out the fat on the show. So coming in at number 10, Buffalo Nickel. Buffalo Nickel is your number 10 horse name of 2020. I liked it. It came up. I was watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with Regis Philbin 20 years ago. Well, I was watching it 2 days ago, but the episode aired 20 years ago. And there was a question that was basically like, recently, which animal was returned to the back of the U.S. nickel or something like that? And one of the answers was obviously the buffalo, because that's correct, a buffalo nickel. But the contestant got it wrong. They guessed a bald eagle, and that was very embarrassing, and I laughed at them for a long period of time. So that got me thinking, Buffalo Nickel is kind of taps into this American... Something fell. Oh, it was in my bathroom. I got the window open, and and the wind blew some pills onto the floor. Not loose pills. They're in a cardboard thing. They'll be okay. Buffalo Nickel taps into kind of this Americana historical thing. It's a type of name that's probably been done before, but it's fun. It's simple. It's elegant. It's got a touch of nostalgia, and I like it. So that's number 10. Number 9. Here we go. This is an interesting kind of regional one that some listeners might know, some might not. I will explain it, I promise. Your number 9 horse name for 2020, Chicago Handshake. Chicago Handshake. No, it's not a coronavirus thing. A Chicago Handshake is a drink or a collection of drinks. Excuse me. What a Chicago Handshake is a shot of Jeppson's Malort, followed by a can of, I think it can really be a couple different beers, but what I traditionally know it as is a can of Old Style. But, you could probably do like a PBR or a Miller High Life or something like that works as well. If you don't know what Jeppson's Malort is, Carl Jeppson was a Swedish immigrant to Chicago, and he introduced his own liqueur, Malort. It is made from wormwood, and it's not as appetizing as it sounds. If you don't know Malort, I'm not telling you to go rush out to your local Binny's Beverage Depot to get some. I'm just telling you at some point in your life you should have a shot of Malort. And I think it's better if you do it the Chicago Handshake style. Because if you just have a shot of Malort, your mouth will likely taste like gasoline until you have something else. So if you follow the Chicago Handshake model, your mouth only tastes like gasoline for a couple seconds before you start nursing your, what did we say the beer was? Old Style, right? I have a can of Old Style in my fridge. I'm halfway to a Chicago Handshake. But that is your number 9 horse name, Chicago Handshake. Moving on to number 8 here. We're getting into, I love when horse names take terminology from another sport. I think like Suicide Squeeze or Safety Squeeze, that might have been one of my horse names last year, I don't remember. Or if you had something like, I don't know, back check. The 3 B's of hockey. Thank you to Greg Anderson up in Appleton, Wisconsin for teaching me that. I like when sports worlds kind of cross-contaminate each other. And so that's what I was going for number 8. So I want to get something niche from a popular sport. So I chose football, and your number 8 horse name for 2020 is 1 Point Safety. Now, any casual football fan knows that a safety is worth 2 points. But, and I think this is maybe college football and the NFL. I'm not sure. We'll have to research it. A 1 point safety is possible, and here's how it happens. If you are an offensive team going for a 2 point conversion, and I'll give you an example. Because in college football and maybe in the NFL right now, I don't remember, the rule changes seemingly often. The defense can run back a 2 point conversion and score it for 2 points, which you block the kick or something, or it's a 2 point pass attempt. You have a pick 6. That's worth 2 points for you as a defense. Let me give you an example. If you are an offensive team, you're going for. Actually, it doesn't have to be a 2 point conversion. It can be any conversion. Let's say you're going for one, you're kicking it. The kick is blocked by the defense, and they pick up the ball and begin to run it back in an attempt to score 2 points. If they run into their own end zone, the defending team's end zone, instead of the offensive team's end zone, which is 99 yards away, and they get tackled in their own end zone, that is a 1 point safety. It's a real play. You can look it up on YouTube. It's a wild thing, but it's real. It exists. It's doesn't happen often, as you might expect, but it's true. And thank you to all the 1-point safety plays out there for lending their name to our number 8 horse name of the year. So our number 8 horse name for 2020, 1-point safety. Moving on here, number 7, we're changing gears a little bit, and we're starting we have 2.5 names this year that kind of get fun with the syntax, the punctuation, the spacing, whatever. So this one is spelled the way it sounds, but there's no space in the middle. And it's a little bit more simple. There's not as much of an explanation behind it, so I won't take too long on it. Your number 7 horse name for 2020 with no space in between words, but still 2 capital S's, Soft Serve. Soft Serve. Capital S-O-F-T, capital S-E-R-V-E. Soft Serve. Ice cream, America's national pastime, especially now that the weather is improving. Soft serve ice cream. Culver's, frozen custard. Frozen custard is a good one. Custard's Last Stand is a very good one. I feel like I should have had that this year. Custard's Last Stand. Maybe for 2021. If there's still a Beantown podcast in 2021. I'll take cryptic messages for 8,000, Alex. Soft serve. It's ice cream. It's fun. It's also your number 7 horse name for 2020. Number 6 here. We're getting, this is our first of 2 horse names in this year, although neither are our top spot for this year. This is number 6. Relates to religion. This one is the name of a hymn, and it's one of my favorite hymns, and I thought, what better way to honor one of my favorite hymns than with my fledgling podcast. Your number 6 horse name for 2020 is Blessed Assurance. Blessed Assurance. You know, when I was crafting this list, I thought maybe trying to get fun with this one and maybe doing Blessed Insurance. But I decided, you know what, let's go natural. Let's go pure. You know, Quinn, you don't have to be 100% funny all the time. Sometimes you can just do things for you. Okay? And that's a message I needed to hear on this one. Okay? You don't always have to make everyone else laugh. And I'm glad I told myself that, frankly. You never know who needs to hear that message. Let's move ahead here to number, where are we at? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Number 5. Well, we're getting down to it here. This was our second one that plays around with the look, the wording, the punctuation, etc. So I kind of have to describe this one to you. And there isn't a deeper meaning to it. This was our most kind of abstract one, I guess. You get in real life, you get horse names that are just like, I don't really know what that means, but it's kind of fun to look at. So this one, I will pronounce it as why not, just a common phrase or question. It's spelled capital W, then all lowercase Hynaught, and there's a question mark in the official name. He drives standardized test taker and Scantroners crazy with this name. 18 tricks doctors don't want you to know. Quinn David Furness presents the Beantown Podcast. Why not? With a fun GH in there. And a question mark, right? What's as fun as a question mark? Almost nothing, I would argue. Why not is our number 5 name for 2020. Plowing ahead here, number 4. Boy, we are getting down to it. Maybe the most controversial horse name of 2020 is our number 4 entrant, and it is Going Postal. Going Postal is your number 4 horse name of 2020. If you don't really know what that means, you probably should just Google it. Because I'm not going to sit here in minute 45 of our special and try to explain to you what Going Postal means. So just look it up. You know, kids, don't look it up. If you're under, let's say, 35, better off without it. Okay. Number 3 is our second of 2 religion-related names. And I really like this one. And you might be thinking, well, Quinn, it's a religion one. You really like it. How did it not end up at number 1? Well, when I give you number 1, I think you'll know why. Because number 1 is a really good entrant. Number 3 of our top 10 horse names of 2020, and the Old Testament fans are going to love this one. Nebuchadnezzar. Oh, man. Spell it out for us, Quinn. Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar. 18-letter word. Nebuchadnezzar. Is that right? No, it's less than that. That's okay. King Nebuchadnezzar II is a prominent player in an Old Testament book. I couldn't tell you which one. Maybe First Chronicles. Maybe Second Kings. Who knows? I'll look it up, but it's not important right now. If you know the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which killer names, by the way, you don't see a ton of Meshachs. Let's just put it that way. King Nebuchadnezzar throws him into the fiery furnace. Wow, power move. And God, or the Holy Spirit, TBD, shows up and gives them all flammable fire suits or something like they're in a NASCAR pit crew, and they survive. And I don't really know what the fallout of it was because, like, I'm thinking, hey, if you were going to kill, Meshach and Appendage and Radio Shack with fire and it didn't work, wouldn't you just take him out and stone him to death, Stephen style? It's a New Testament poll for you guys. We're going big time biblical today. So what I'm getting at is maybe Nebuchadnezzar wasn't as kingly as we were led to believe. Nevertheless, Nebuchadnezzar, hell of a name, and it's what I'm naming my first daughter. Number 3. Number 2, boy, we are down to the nitty-gritty, like when it was just Justin Guarini and Kelly Clarkson. Wow. BT dubs I've never seen from Justin to Kelly, and never will, because it looks like a steaming hot pile of garbage. If you don't know any of the references I just made, you were missing out, because 2001 was a wild time. Before I even get to number 2, I'm doing a little tease for you. 2 things I actually want to research here, and I think will be helpful for everyone listening at home. Number 1, when did American Idol debut? Because I just want to know, was I actually right on 2001? Or was I wrong? I was wrong. 2002. So my apologies. June of 2002. What a strange time to debut a show. Well, June in general, a strange time to debut a show. Interesting. Brian Dunkelman, man, what a guy. The second thing I wanted to look up, just because it's kind of bugging me, King Nebuchadnezzar. When does he actually show up in the Bible? He's a real king, right? Portrayal in the Bible. 2 sieges of Jerusalem are depicted in 2 Kings. Those are sieges. Oh, Book of Daniel, maybe. After God saves 3 of Daniel's companions from a fiery furnace in Daniel 3. And secondly, new light. After Nebuchadnezzar himself suffers a humiliating period of madness, as Daniel predicted. Wow. Humiliating period of madness. Well, I guess I'm reading Daniel chapter 3 tonight. Man, all that stuff happens right at the beginning of Daniel. I mean, how long is this book? Because it really feels like there's nowhere to go but down from there. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Whatever I said earlier. It was close. Wow. In this Wikipedia painting, those guys are white, but I mean, I'm not really buying it. Number 2 on our top 10 horse names of 2020, Pony Express. It's straightforward. It hits hard. It's historical. It makes sense. It's horse related. Number 2, not much more needs to be said about it because we're about ready to get to number 1. Number 2 is the just Pony Express. Well, 50 minutes in, great episode so far, I think. I don't know. It had Billy Joel in it. What more do you want? And I still got one more treat for you because we're playing our outro music live today, which is exciting. Live music. What could be better? But friends, we have journeyed far and wide to reach this point. We are here. We have arrived. Our number 1 horse name, and I haven't revealed this to anyone, not even my diary. I am the only one who knows what number 1 is. As a reminder, 2018, number 1, Episcopalian. 2019, number 1, Pentateuch. And if you're ready, drum roll, please. Hit the Samson Q2U series on the edge of the coffee table. The number 1 horse name for 2020, entering into Quinn's Hall of Fame horse names, which by the time the Beantown podcast ends after 50 years is going to be quite extensive. Number 1, here it is. Irregardless. Oh, man, that was good when I thought of it. I love this one. Number 1, Irregardless. IRREGARDLESS. It's not really a word. At some point, under the Carter administration, people just started adding 2 extra letters to the word regardless because they just wanted to fuck us all. Irregardless enters the Horse Name Hall of Fame as the number 1 installment in the year 2020. And in a year as screwed up as 2020 is, why not choose a name that's not even a word? Irregardless is number 1. I love it. The English majors out there are weeping. The grammar Nazis are gnashing their teeth. But I can't help you because when this one hit me, I knew it was special. It was the first one I wrote down for this year. It wasn't even like, oh, this is number 1, slap down, nothing else can top it. I just knew it was special. And none of these other names, as fun and as good as they were, and I really do think it was a really nice collection, a really solid list, none of these other names just kind of touched me that way, you know, like a Catholic priest in Boston. So running down the list here, the top 10 horse names of 2020, according to Quinn David Furness, presents the Beantown podcast. Excuse me. That was a double burper. Number 10, Buffalo Nickel. Number 9, Chicago Handshake. Number 8, 1 Point Safety. Number 7, Soft Serve. Number 6, Blessed Assurance. Number 5, Why Not? Number 4, Going Postal. Number 3, Nebuchadnezzar. Number 2, Pony Express. And the number 1 horse name of 2020, Irregardless. There you have it, folks. That was fun. I enjoyed it. Timing was great because we're going to shift over to the piano here. I'm going to do while I'm still talking. That is multitasking at its finest. And I'm going to play us out. What do you mean to play us out? I like episodes like this where there's not a lot of frill, pomp, and circumstance at the end, right? I said what I wanted to say. And we're done now, which means I'm going to play us out. Because there's nothing else to say. You can listen to some music and maybe go check out the Scott Farrell audiobook, whatever you want to do. But a shame that there was no Kentucky Derby yesterday. It's currently scheduled for September, I think, which should be interesting. But yeah, that's what we had for our top 10 horse names special. I always really enjoy this one. I hope you enjoyed it too. And off the top of my head, no sheet music. We're going to play our outro music live, the Tishomingo Blues. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Quinn David Furness. This is my show. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can always email us. BeantownPodcast@yahoo.com. Again, that's Beantown, BEANT, podcast at yahoo.com. Or you can tweet at us. We're at BeantownCast. I am personally at White Buns with a Z. Don't forget, for all the latest updates and see how we're handling COVID-19, go check out BeantownPodcast.com or my YouTube page where you can subscribe to the show, Quinn David Furness. The camera is coming soon. The visuals are coming soon. This is all very exciting. And, we will check in on you next time. So stay safe, stay sane, and, let's play us out. Get situated here. Hopefully that mic stays there. And I'm just playing this off the top of my head. I haven't played this one in like half a year. Hopefully it goes okay. I'll check in on you guys next time. Bye.